What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez. You could follow me on Twitter, my handle below. I'm joined always by my friend Matt Llewellyn. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Same thing. Follow me down below. Follow 49ers Hive for the best of 49ers content. Let's get it started.
Yes, sir. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Last week, Matt, big news, 2020 NFL schedule came out. What did you think of the 49ers schedule? Just kind of quick thoughts.
They got a huge break. It's one of those things where a lot of people are worried about a Super Bowl hangover, and the way that the schedule broke, it looks like that's not even going to be a thing. You know, we're playing the AFC West this year as far as our out of conference, and you're looking at road games at the Jets, at the Patriots. Awesome for us because both of those games take place in the warmer months of the year. We also play the New York Giants at New York. So back to back, week 2, week 3, New York. They're going to stay there most likely. Kyle will have them booked up there. That won't be a problem. Patriots are going to take a huge step back with Tom Brady leaving, and we've got all our cold weather games out just, right before anything can happen as far as terrible weather. It's not like we're going to, be in New England in December where it could be a snow thing and could potentially slow us down. The only tough part of the schedule is, I believe, going week 10 into Green Bay. It's going to be a short week. I believe that's a Thursday night game. But conversely, after that, we get 10 days between the Packers and the Saints. So we have to travel to New Orleans, but there's a longer prep time for that. And given what we've done to the Packers, I think the schedule breaks out for us very well. I believe I was reading somewhere that the 49ers have a 4th place schedule. If you're looking at like what the actual difficulty of schedule is, we have one of the easier ones in the league. There's going to be no crazy super back-to-back travel days in there. And it's one of those where it broke perfectly for this team to make another run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the thing that you touched on the most that I agree with most is that the East Coast kind of colder weather games are earlier on in the year. The 49ers don't have to worry about going into snow or crazy amounts of rain. So that definitely helped the 49ers there. I thought that it was interesting. I know it's preseason, but I still think it's interesting that the 49ers are facing the Raiders. That hasn't happened in years, right?
Yeah, it hasn't happened in a long time. That was mainly because there were altercations between fans going back and forth to those games. They used to play in the preseason every year, and it would alternate between Oakland and San Francisco. I think the league thinks that by the Raiders leaving Oakland and moving to Las Vegas, they're going to be able to mitigate that. I think that's only going to be true when San Francisco goes to Oakland for the preseason, because there's still going to be Las Vegas. There's still going to be a lot of Raider fans in Oakland that will go to Santa Clara to, watch that game. There could still be potential issues, but I do agree. It's been a surprise. The real thing is going to be if any games are held in California. I know there's been talk with, the coronavirus and all that stuff, that the league has a contingency plan for all of the California teams if Governor Newsom decides that, hey, there's going to be no sports played here. And in that instance, I believe the 49ers would actually play in Glendale at the Cardinals Stadium. So I know that it's rumored that the Rams and the Chargers would actually go to Allegiant in Las Vegas and play there. So we could potentially get 48 regular season games in Las Vegas for the first year of that stadium. But if everything goes to plan and everybody can go where they're supposed to go, their home stadiums and everything, it is going to be interesting to see how that first preseason game between the Raiders and the 49ers will go, considering the league kind of put the kibosh on that after so many kind of incidences between the two.
Yeah, I remember the last time there was that like brutal like stabbing or something like that.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I've been to 2 Battles of the Bay myself, and you do see a lot of hectic things go on there. Hopefully things, like you said, get better now that the Raiders will be out of the Bay Area. It won't be as kind of brutal and harsh of a rivalry, which is funny because if you think about it, the 49ers and Raiders, there's no game rivalry there. It's not like the 49ers and Seahawks.
Yeah. It's just more geographical gang rivalry. You know what I mean? It's the unfortunate aspect of, fan is short for fanatic. And when you're into your team, you're into your team. And there are instances where that carries into real life, and it's unfortunate. And I do think it's important that these two teams can kind of, meet with each other, because that it just tells me that these two teams like working with each other and like kind of seeing where the other one is. And a lot of times the rivalries are between mostly the fans of those two teams. It's not necessarily we all know that players are really friendly nowadays, and player movement is such a big thing that nobody stays on one team for too long. Nobody has allegiance for too long. It's more about the colors you wear in the place where you live, and that can lead to some ugly things. So hopefully, with this being reinstated between the Raiders and the 49ers, hopefully we can keep it a little bit more civil so that we don't have to kind of, go away from that again.
Yeah. Now, Matt, there's one game on the schedule that I know for sure one 49er has scheduled with, permanent marker 1,000 times, and that's week 7 in New England. How do you think that game shapes out for the 49ers?
I think it's going to play out really well. No matter what anybody in New England is going to tell you, no matter what Bill Belichick is going to talk really robotically about. Listen, you can't get rid of somebody like Tom Brady and not expect to drop off. Tom Brady to Jared Stidham is going to be something that's just, you can't just overcome that in a couple weeks. And Stidham is going to be in for a long, long day. It's not like that New England offensive line is anything special. And you're looking at one of the best pass rushes in the league. You're looking at a guy who, granted, he's going to be in his second year, but he hasn't really seen any game action. So what is he really going to know? I think it's prime target for the 49ers and Robert Saleh to feast on that New England offense. And I would expect that would be, honestly, one of the easier games of the season. And I hate to, you don't want to be Nostradamus too much and put too much out there, but reading the tea leaves is kind of like, this is going to be a down year for New England, and the 49ers are going to kind of beat up on those teams that are a little bit lesser.
Yeah, I totally agree, 100%. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously this game would have been a lot better if Tom was still in New England. However, that's where he came into the NFL. That's where he began his career, probably where he hoped to finish his career, and they sent him packing. So I think that he has a lot to prove. He probably has a chip on his shoulder as it is, especially going into New England and Foxborough. And I think that he's probably going to have one of the best games of his career, to be honest with you. Now, go ahead.
I just want to say, that game looks like it's going to be one of the easier ones. The one game, there are games to concern you though. And I think that the one game, and I'm sure that you will kind of acknowledge, if not outright agree, the one game that looks the toughest is going to be at New Orleans. I mean, that game was a knockdown, drag-out affair last year. New Orleans is returning a ton of talent, and it's going to be hard to go in there 2 years in a row and kind of like try to pull one out. I feel like that's the one game where it's just like, that's a tough ask, and you hope they can go in there and do it. You hope that maybe Sean Payton overlooks some things that, doesn't adjust the way that he should, because we know Kyle's going to adjust. But I think going into New Orleans 2 years in a row is kind of a big ask. And I think for them, that's probably the hardest game on the schedule. What do you think is, for you, what is the hardest game on the schedule for them?
Okay, now, totally, I agree. New Orleans is going to be tough. I think that, the 49ers may luck out Father Time chipping away at Drew Brees' talent and just his strength. And, he's still going to be one of the smartest quarterbacks. However, we've seen quarterbacks, no matter how smart you are, your body starts to wear. I think that they will have a better chance just because of that, just because of age. But a tough game for me, and I know people are probably going to think that I'm crazy, but I'm looking at week 16 going to Arizona. I think that's going to be a tough game. The 49ers and Cardinals played each other really, really well last year. The 49ers were in prime position to lose both games. That game at home, if it wasn't for a last second, pass to Jeff Wilson, they would have lost that game. And I know that they did everything they could to come back. However, they played really, really poorly in the first half of that game. And then the Halloween game, they were going chip for chip kind of the whole game. And they start off the season at home against the Cardinals. I think that that's going to be kind of an early litmus test of where the Cardinals are already, because like I said, they played the 49ers really well last season. And then they finish up 2 division games the season, 16-17. at Cardinals, and they come home to finish the season against Seattle. So I think that's going to be a tough game. We were talking last week, or excuse me, last episode about how the quarterbacks match up in the NFC West. We all agreed Kyler's kind of at least at Jimmy, if not a smidge above Jimmy.
Right.
What do you think of that? Do you think the 49ers have a lot to handle when they face the Cardinals?
I do. I think the game that really is going to be the trip up, though, is going to be the opening game, week 1.
Okay.
And that's because a young team does well when there's nothing, when there's no lingering momentum. So I think a young team is really susceptible to the ebbs and the flows of a season. So when you get really hot, a young team will get really hot. When a young team gets cold, they get really cold. So depending on how it shakes out, week 16 could come. Arizona could be out of it and then not looking to really, their heart's not in it or whatever. Everybody's amped up for opening day, and I think those young teams can really catch people off guard. I think a lot of upsets happen in week 1. We've seen it in the past, and this could be a thing of where if the 49ers aren't careful, Arizona could come into Levi's Stadium and take one right off the bat and then leave the 49ers kind of reeling and, looking at themselves like, wow, what just happened? So if they're not careful, I think week 1 is actually the more dangerous game for them just because it's like, oh, well, 49er complacency. Look, we just came off the Super Bowl. The schedule looks good. We're going to get there. Everybody looks good. We got Brandon Ayuk. We got, we replaced everything that we lost. We got Javon Kinlaw. We got all these pieces, getting our guys back healthy. Jimmy's going to grow, everything, and they come in a little bit too big for their britches.
Right.
And that's when you get caught, so week 1 is, to me, is the Arizona game that's really going to be the test, more so than week 16.
Okay. I mean, I could see that. Starting off the season, like you said, a lot of expectations, a lot of energy. And if they come out and get hit in the mouth right away, I mean, all that matters is their response. Are they prepared for it? Are they ready to answer right back and keep going tat for tat? So it's going to be really interesting. But I think the Cardinals, like we've said in the last episode, they're going to be a tough test for the 49ers. And it looks like they're not going anywhere. So they better start to get used to them. Now, Matt,
it's coming.
Yeah. Now, Matt, the 49ers saw the Packers twice last year, and they just spanked them both times.
Packers got nothing for them this year. It's not going to be any different.
That's my question for you. Week 9, there's a game on NFL Network, on Amazon Prime, nationally televised game. Is it going to be any better of a matchup than it was last year in both games?
No, and I think it'll be even worse. You're looking at turmoil in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be happy. Aaron Rodgers has a chapped ass from what they did in the draft. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be happy. That thing has a chance to collapse in on itself very quickly. And they didn't do anything to improve the deficiencies that the 49ers were able to take care of. I mean, what did they do? They didn't listen. Raheem Mostert was able to get 186 yards before contact in the NFC Championship game last season. They didn't do anything to address any of the positions of need that could slow that down. So if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm just like, well, we're going to feed the ball to our running backs and play physical football with them because they're not going to be able to do anything about it. And you have maybe potentially Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of the season has a fire lit under him and he plays really well. But when you're talking about week 9, man, playing angry all the time, that's not sustainable. And it's going to be something where there's going to be a lot, that anger and that motivation is going to turn into resentment and tension over the course of the season. And by the time that they get to us, they might be done.
Yeah. When they were drafting, I was cracking up when they traded up to take Jordan Love. My first thought was, is he going to fill those holes on the defensive line? Is he going to hit running backs going through your porous defense? It's just, it's really hilarious. I agree. I don't think that the Packers have any answer. Like you said, I think they got worse, if anything, at least matching up with the 49ers from last year to this year. Now, last year we saw, Matt, the 49ers kind of drop one to the Falcons, letdown game. They were just coming off that really, really tough 3-game stretch. Yeah. Which game on the schedule do you see that could be that letdown game this year?
It's hard to say at this point. I think there's a few games, and it's a thing of like where the schedule can break any different number of ways, and if you're not careful, any game could be that game. I think there's a couple games that are really important. That back to back. You have Packers, and then you go to the the Saints.
New Orleans,
That's a
yeah.
really tough 2-game stretch. And then after that, they get a bye week, but then they go to the Rams. I don't think that they drop that one there, but I think the potential one that they could really, really drop is the Monday night game versus Buffalo. You got a good
Okay.
couple of weeks where, again, Packers on short week after you face the Seahawks. Then you have, when you go to Seattle on November 1st, Packers November 5th at home. Then you travel to New Orleans, and then you get Rams in Los Angeles. But then after that, you get a Monday night game at home against the Bills. And I think just after beat down after beat down after beat down, the Bills defense is very physical. The offense isn't anything to write home about, but the defense could, after all of those different teams, I mean, Packers have a good offense, Saints have a good offense, Rams, when they're dialed in, they have a good offense, even though the 49ers have shown a propensity to stop them. That's 3 straight weeks of opponents that have really good offenses, and you get to the point where you face a physical team like the Bills, you're in danger of maybe dropping one. And I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a trap game. I don't think it's something that, people would be super upset if the 49ers lost. But it is a game that I really do worry about just because of the physical aspect of the Bills defense.
Okay, that's going to be a tough game for sure. Just how you laid it out, especially after that stretch that they go on and nationally televised, there's a lot of pressure. I'm going to say, I think that, to be honest with you, I think that week 4, that Sunday night game at home against the Eagles, I think that's going to be a tough game for them. I mean, they got 2 weeks back to back on the East Coast. They're coming back, a lot of travel, and the Eagles are a tough team. They made the playoffs last year. I know a lot of people kind of joke at them. They don't have any talent wide receiver. Carson Wentz is always beat up, but I do think they're a talented team. And not only that, they have a very, very, talented defensive line as well. And I think that they probably match up well with the 49ers. So if I see any sort of kind of letdown, and I don't even know if you could classify that as a letdown as a team, that made the playoffs last year, but I think the Eagles could be that sort of game. And I think that the 49ers need to come prepared because they're fighting for their lives in the NFC East as well. And the NFC East has been up for grabs, seems like the last 2 to 3 years. So there's really no clear-cut favorite.
Agreed.
Now, we're going to wrap things up here, guys. Matt, what do you think? Final thoughts on the schedule? Do you want to give a season prediction record-wise?
I thought 11-5, 12-4 is a realistic prediction. I'm going to stick with that. I think the schedule broke in a way that favors the 49ers. So, there's schedule. Once the schedule comes out, it can go one of 2 ways. It could either be you do really well for yourself or you have a really tough time. And the 49ers, unlike last year, where I feel like they had a really tough schedule, this year I feel like it's a lot more advantageous for them to make another run at the Super Bowl. So I would lean more towards 12-4 and another NFC West championship.
Okay. I like that. I was actually thinking when I was going through the games, I tallied up 12-4 as well. And I do think they win the NFC West. I think that, we gave our rankings last week, guys. So if you missed that, go check out the previous episode where we ranked the NFC West teams. But I do agree the 49ers will win the NFC West this year, and they'll probably finish around 12-4, 11-5. It's going to be tough to match what they produced last year, but I still think they do produce a pretty high level of play. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. Make sure you go and follow us on Twitter. Our handles are below on the screen right now. And comment your thoughts below. Do you guys think that the 49ers schedule broke easy for them? Do you think it's a tough break? Do you think that there's any sort of stretch of games that's going to be very, very problematic for them? And do you agree with us as far as our easy games, tough games? And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, guys, because we are giving away a jersey as soon as we reach 250 subscribers. I believe we're about halfway there. So you do not want to miss out on this, guys. Imagine just getting a 49ers jersey just in time for the next season. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Matt, any final words?
Thanks for joining us as always. And don't forget to hit that bell.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.